close enough at 6 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. Welcome everybody from the public there as well. And it's maybe our first summer meeting, so everybody's not dressed up tonight, but it's going to be a casual dress for the rest of the summer there. And hopefully we'll soon get back into the council chambers and start speaking live from the council chamber as well. Next couple of meetings as well. So I'll ask the clerk for the roll call, please.
Good evening, Your Worship. All members are present.
Thank you very much. Item number 3 is review of revisions or deletion to the agenda. Anybody else anything you want to add to the agenda? Seeing nothing, I've got a motion moved by Councilor MacArthur, second by Councilor Foley. Be resolved, the City Council approves the agenda as printed. Anybody opposed to that motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that motion carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or general nature tonight? Seeing none, we'll move on to item number 6, review and adoption of the council minutes. And I got a motion moved by Councilor Jelling, second by Councilor Whalen. Be it resolved, the City Council approves the following minutes as printed. A, the regular meeting of the council which held on May the 19th, 2020, and the third meeting of council held on June the 2nd. That's tonight, so that's top of the next page. So just one meeting actually. So anybody opposed to that motion? We will consider that carried. Item number 7 is the public meetings pursuant to the Planning Act, Municipal Act, and other statutes. And tonight we have 2. So it's the second part of the public meetings we had last 2 weeks ago. So I refer to this first meeting is for the Hillbury Public Library on 545 Lakeshore Road, and the purpose of the second meeting is to present to council and the public additional details related to the proposed disposition of land being the Hillbury Public Library at 545 Lakeshore Road. And the meeting also allows the public to provide comments on the proposed disposition prior to council making decisions. And I'll now declare this to be an open public meeting and request the clerk, Logan Volante, to outline the details of the proposed disposition. Logan, you're on.
Thank you, Your Worship. So to begin the presentation, again, for the potential disposition of municipal land for 545 Lakeshore Road, being the Hillbury Public Library. So just a recap of the background from the May 19th, 2020 regular council meeting. Council held a public meeting to present the details related to the proposed disposition of land, being the Hillbury Public Library. The presentation outlined the history, background, and the events regarding the proposed disposition, as well as a summary of the written questions and comments that were received. Members of the public had an opportunity to provide comments in the chat box during the meeting. One registered speaker presented her questions, comments, and recommendations to council, including a request for consideration for the correlation between the official plan and the divestment of an accessible public building in Hillbury and the only heritage building in New Liskeard. In addition, including a request for the examination of possible repurposing and utilization of the buildings congruent with the demographic and the needs of the area, and how the continued utilization of these 2 properties could advance the objectives of the corporation in addressing the needs of the citizens. And question 3, or request number 3, request for the creation of a common shared vision achieved through congruency of goals and actions. This outlines the key map or the aerial map of the subject property. The Facebook summary, which is a cumulative summary of the 2 public notices for the New Liskeard and Hillbury libraries. So this was as of Friday, May 29th at 12 o'clock noon. So the statistics for the second public meeting posting is 2,307 viewings, 180 engagements, 9 shares, 25 reactions, and a total of 8 comments, but no new comments were received on the city's Facebook page. And the total statistics for both viewings are reflected in the total column to the right. A Facebook comment summary, which was the same from the May 19th presentation. There were no new comments received. And for additional information, no further comments have been received at this time. However, there is an instrument registered on title for the subject property referring to a right-of-way on the land. Staff is currently investigating the easement providing legal access over the neighboring lands and prior to drafting a recommendation regarding the proposed disposition. The next steps include scheduling a meeting in June of this year with the Corporate Services Committee, as well as with the Building Maintenance Committee, to review comments the comments received from the public meetings and for the postings. Following which, a report will be prepared for council consideration. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Logan. If there's any members of the public that want to speak to this issue tonight, they can put their comments in the chat box. I will back to you in a few minutes so everything comments in the chat box. Are there any members of council that want to speak to this issue tonight as well? So, Councilor MacArthur.
Yes, I just wanted to know if any of the other councillors would make a comment on the sale of the building. We'll get to the other one later, but with our financial situation and down the road what we have heard from the corporate service people, I'm hoping that we can sell this building and the coffers go back to the taxpayers where we can use that money. I just wondered what people thought about this, because I know we do a lot of in-kind, work, but this is an opportunity for us to sell a building and perhaps another one later. But I think we've gone out of our way to make sure that everybody can take part at Northern College if they want to join in that library. And of course, we spent over $1 million on this brand new one in Uliskert, and I was just hoping that we take into consideration that we can make some money for the taxpayer down the road and not have to donate or give anything away. That's all I had to say about that.
We'll make our proposals there, and council going to discuss it. Danny, any comments as well, Dan?
Yeah, while we're on the topic here, thank you, Mayor Kidd. I just want to start by saying how appreciative the former town and city of Temiskaming Shores is to the family for having allowed us the use of this facility over the years. And I think the fact that they've decided to allow the current council to make a decision on which way they want to go with it shows that there's no real, there may be a personal attachment to it in some cases, but there's no real historic significance to the building, or the family would have spoke up at the time. But I just wanted to express our appreciation for the years of support to the municipality with the use of this building. I didn't want that to go unsaid. Little different opinion on the next one, but thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Whelan. I mean, it's good that they've donated that back to the city, so we're not out to make a big profit on this. If there is uses of it, if there is somebody that can utilize that building, then council can consider that as well. So it's, I don't think money is the biggest objective at this point for the Alberta Library. So, any other comments from the councilors tonight? Councilor LaFleur.
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Danny and Mike, for your comments. From my perspective, this is an asset now that is really owned by the ratepayers, and I think we owe it to the ratepayers. If we choose, we don't have a need internally for it, and we do get the best return on selling that piece of property, and really making sure that use those funds in a way that is cost effective, for the municipality. So I am in favor of getting rid of property and facilities that we don't need and we aren't using. There's a cost not only to maintain those facilities, but also a cost to operate them. And we really do need to take a look at the business case. If and when we discuss these comments at our next meeting, it's really making sure that there's value there that would warrant us keeping it. Just my thoughts. Thank you.
Yeah, capital improvements always cost us money, and the operating costs money every year as well. So I agree with you you there, Jeff. So any other comments, councillors? I'll ask our Director of Corporate Services whether or not to make questions in the chat box as well.
No comments from the chat box, Carmen.
Okay. Any last comments before we move along? If not, I'll declare this public meeting to be closed and the council will give due consideration to the proposed disposition.
Councillor Hewitt had her hand up.
Oh, did you? Okay, sorry. Councillor Hewitt?
Yeah, I just want to say that, I can certainly understand that if we have extra facilities and that type of thing. But again, I encourage a public consultation. This is difficult times right now for some individuals to get out and to be able to have that consultation. And, these individuals that have difficulty getting out are the same individuals that helped build this city. And so when I say the city, whether it's Haileybury, Diamond, or Nilisquard, I'd still like to have that vision working together moving forward. I know that it's difficult during this time, but I think we owe that to our constituents.
Thank you very much. We'll move on to item number 7.2, the Nilisquard Public Library on 50 Whitewood Avenue. And purpose of this second public meeting is to present to the council and the public additional details related to the proposed disposition of the land being the Nilisquard Public Library at 50 Whitewood Avenue. And the meeting also allows the public to provide comments on the proposed disposition prior to council making the decision. So I now declare this to be an open public meeting and request the clerk Gordon Galante to outline details of the proposed disposition for this project.
Thank you, Your Worship. So again, to begin the presentation for the potential disposition of the Nilisquard Library. So to recap on the background from the May 19th, 2020 regular council meeting, council had a public meeting to present details related to the proposed disposition of land being the Nilisquard Public Library. The presentation outlined the history, background, and the events regarding the proposed disposition, as well as a summary of written questions and comments received as of May 15th. Members of the public had an opportunity to provide comments in the chat box during the meeting. 2 registered speakers presented their questions, comments, and recommendations to council, and primary questions and comments included: 1, concern regarding the future of the municipal heritage designation and the future of the Carnegie building. 2nd, a request for further consultation and deferral of decisions until regular council meetings can resume and members of the public have an opportunity to attend in person, meaning consideration for those without the ability to connect to a virtual meeting. 3, a request to repurpose the building for another department or use. And 4, request for the reinstatement of the Heritage Committee to provide recommendations to council.
Right.
A 3rd registered speaker presented a proposal for the building, meaning the Ontario Centre of Archaeological Research and Education, or OCARE, proposed creating a new cultural space in the Nilisquard Library, preserving the Carnegie building as a heritage building and as a public space without ratepayer burden. The proposal included the creation of a community hub where people can interact with the past and directly with the archaeological process. The structural and accessibility issues would be remedied, and OCARE would retain the former library character, historical significance, and purpose. The presentation also noted that should OCARE cease operations, that ownership would revert back to the city. The next slide outlines a key map or an aerial image of the location of the Nilisquard Library. The following slide outlines the plan of subdivision, or M22NB. The library and cenotaph are located on parcels 1487 and ND, lots 29 through 32, and the plan of subdivision at the corner of Whitewood Avenue and Wellington Street. The proposed sale would not include the cenotaph park. The picture here depicts the property line between the cenotaph and the library, which is between lots 30 and 31 on the plan of subdivision. It's approximately 2 meters from the building. For a summary of planning comments received, Municipalities have an exemption under Section 50, subsection 3C of the Planning Act, and that they can acquire part of a parcel of land or dispose of land while retaining abutting property without the need to obtain consent. Staff are currently confirming that the city may proceed through a municipal process of land disposal and sale for the transfer of the land, should the disposition be approved. The lands are currently zoned C1 General Commercial, which has no minimum frontage area, no minimum interior side yard, and a maximum lot coverage of 80%. Staff are confirming lot coverage currently. If this provision cannot be met, a variance may be required. The following comment was received after the second public notice. A memorial was erected in memory of Dr. J.D. McNaughton on the exterior of the new Liskeard Library building in approximately 1925, and concerns were expressed regarding the fountain should the building be sold. This slide outlines the Facebook summary of the cumulative totals between the two public meetings, and these totals were taken as of Friday, May 29th at 12 o'clock noon, for a total viewings for the second posting of 2,307, 180 engagements, 9 shares, 25 reactions, a total of 8 comments, and 0 comments directly on the city's page. And the total statistics for both viewings are reflected in the total column to the right. The Facebook comment summary remains unchanged from the May 19th presentation. For additional information, no further questions have been received to date. Notice of the second public meeting was provided via the community bulletin in accordance with the city's disposition of land bylaw number 2015-160, as well as on the city's website and Facebook page. The municipal heritage designation remains in place and would impose limitations on any future owners with respect to renovations to the building. For next steps, meetings will be scheduled in June of this month with the Corporate Services Committee and with the Building Maintenance Committee to review comments from the public meetings and from the posting, following which a report will be prepared for council consideration. Thank you.
Once again, if there's any members of the public that want to speak to this issue, they can put their comments in the chat box, and our corporate service director will read them later here. We'll maybe go to council. There may be one comment I'll make before we go to council is that I was contacted back before this COVID, private business owner that was interested in buying the building, so there is interest in there. So we may have to end up doing an RFP and see what kind of proposals we get. We'll get Oakridge proposal, we get maybe some other private business people's proposals there, and then council have to have a look at that and decide how we want to proceed with the disposition there. So I'll open up to council. Anybody else got a question, comment at this point? Council? Council Will?
Yeah, thank you again, Mayor Kidd. My feelings on this one are slightly different. It didn't say during the OCARE presentation if they wanted to make use of the entire facility or one level of the facility. But I keep going back to the issue we have with the number of user groups that use our facilities across the city. And is there any way we can conglomerate them into one building? It might be a benefit to our transit system. Bringing all those people together in the downtown core might be a benefit to the downtown businesses. We would have reduced cleaning costs. So I just hope we take our time when we look at all of these various options, because we have the potential to make X number of dollars over here, but do we have the potential to save X number of dollars over here? So I want to take our time and compare those two numbers if possible. Thank you.
Chris, you had some more comments as far as what OCARE proposing, I guess, some of them recommending the basement as well there. So.
Yeah, so Logan and I reached out to Ryan Primrose after, and I think they did outline this in their proposal. What they were looking at was renting, so the nonprofit group OCARE would own the building, so they would look at the city donating or transferring that to OCARE. They would at no cost, but they would assume all the costs related to any repairs to the building and all of the operating costs. So their plan would be that the bottom floor would be rented out for commercial purposes, and those commercial tenants would cover the operating costs for the nonprofit, but that the upstairs would be a public space and educational space. So that's sort of the proposal that they were looking at.
Thanks, Chris. Councilor Hewitt, you got a comment, I think?
Primarily, you can hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
So primarily, I go back to the fact that this is a significant building and part of our heritage, and I really think that this comes at a really bad time in regards to not having that public consultation. It's the heart and soul of our downtown Illustrate area. The library, I know we're changing in regards to literary services and that type of thing, but it's still a community hub, and we still need to have more individuals have their say in regards to how they would like to see this building move forward and be part of our community. And I think if we were to put this on the market or even share it with OCare, I think it's we need to have more consultations. I think we owe that to our public, and I continually go back on that. I think we this is a slippery slope in my opinion. If we let this go, what's next?
Councilor Whalen, you were first. Councilor Whalen, you were first. Go ahead.
No, I just had a follow-up for Chris, if I may. So would it, as being owned by a nonprofit, would it be a taxable property or non-taxable property?
It would be a taxable property. It would fall likely under the charitable tax rebate program, which is in the Municipal Act, which would be a 40% tax reduction. So they would still be paying 60% of the taxes. In all likelihood, any space rented out for commercial purposes would not get that charitable tax rebate. But the idea is that you're using your charitable tax rebate to help with the upkeep of the building as well. But the commercial sector likely would not receive that charitable status, any space they're renting out for commercial space.
Good, thanks for the information.
Councilor MacArthur.
Yes, from what I can understand here, if we go ahead and bring in this nonprofit organization, we stand to get the building back someday. Or if not this council, mayor and council, it's going to return to the city. That's what I understand. And I thought the overall feeling was we were going to sell both of the libraries now that we got the new one in down the street, and we've got the other one at Northern College. But I seriously think that we should also entertain the chance of being owned by a downtown merchant or someone that will probably have to put accessibility into it if they're going to open up a business. But I think we've got to either, if you're going to talk about selling property, and then all of a sudden now you're going to move into a nonprofit, that's fine with me, but this city still will own the building when this nonprofit someday may leave. So if that's what you want to do, it's fine, but you're not selling it if you don't give someone an opportunity that may want to put a business in there.
Chris and I were talking this morning, and we're looking at putting out best ways, putting out an RFP and then see what kind of proposals we get in there, but I'll let Chris speak to that as well. Chris?
Yeah, so tonight is not a decision night, so this is really about gathering input. And so this was one of the proposals that was brought forward that I think that our recommendation is the committees look at this a little further and we bring it back for some council discussion. So we certainly, if there are others that have proposals, whether it's a merchant association or others, we'd be more than happy to listen to those as well. I just wanted to not to be argumentative with Councillor Hewitt, but because I do agree this is a different way of public consultation, but I don't really want the perception out there that there's no consultation. I can tell you that the engagement we've had here is greater than any I've seen in any public consultation that we've done. Like we've had over 10,000 people view the posting. We've had numerous comments. We've had people present to council. Yes, we haven't had that face to face, and so that's something that you need to take into consideration. I agree, but I actually think we've reached more people through this process than we normally do in holding a public meeting at City Hall. And so that's just my own sort of view. I agree, it's a different way of consultation, and it's different interacting with people face to face. That's an important thing to do. I'm not trying to minimize that, but I actually am really proud and happy of the process we've done because we've allowed different mediums that people can engage with us, which we haven't done in the past. And I think it's been actually a very successful public consultation process.
I mean, the library board held a lot of public meetings back a year and a half ago as well. Maybe we didn't just make people, we hope to get out, but I mean, they had the opportunity to come out to the community hall. There are a few other places to make their comments known, and so fill out surveys and everything else. So, Councilor Berry, confirm that.
Yeah, thanks, Your Worship. I'll make a few comments. So for sure, with the public consultation meetings we had, and I think the same thing along the lines Chris just mentioned. We did have folks, and maybe not as many as we would have liked to have seen face to face. However, we did get a lot of surveys. We had a lot of folks coming into the library branches and giving comments. So we did get a fair number of comments through that whole process as well. So I don't want to underplay the participation that we received through that process. My second comment is with regards to the city retaining ownership of this building, because one of the challenges we have is accessibility and the costs. And when we look at the capital required to really meet those commitments, it is a fair amount of capital that we would have to put aside to that. My preference is, to sell the facility. I think the challenge is whether we want to keep the designation. And I think there's value, there's historical value there. I agree with Councillor Whalen. I also think that there's value there for some existing businesses downtown that really are looking at maybe growing their businesses. So, for me, it's really sitting down. There's lots of options and alternatives and seeing where the interest is and really making sure that we take into consideration all the comments we received, both, through this process or the ones that have been sent, either by mail, or we are going to continue to receive them as we go forward. But it's really making an informed decision as we go forward on it in the best interests of our ratepayers. Thanks.
Yeah, I think Jeff brings up a good point there that we hadn't really discussed before, was this accessibility. I mean, if we maintain ownership of everybody owning those good libraries, we are going to have to make sure they're accessible by 2026. So that's going to cost the city a lot of money if we're going to maintain ownership and just lease it out to different groups. So that's something we have to look at. Corporate Service Director Shelley, any comments in the chat box?
No comments or questions, Naked.
Councilor Kelly, comment?
Yeah, my comment, I think they've been made by my fellow councillors. We're in a process here that we're not making the decision tonight. We're certainly going to sit as council and as, building maintenance committee and corporate services committee. and assess any information that we get in or anything that comes in. There are a couple stumbling blocks at each of the buildings. The one is the right of way in Hillary, and then the other one, of course, is accessibility or the municipal designation in the district. I'm very pleased with what's happened, the same as our city manager is. And I think we have a lot to think about. I think it's going to come back for a long discussion before any decision is made, and I'm quite sure as council, we will take a look at everything that comes in or every idea that's before us. We have some good ideas now and out there that we need to talk about, and we have a lot to finalize before we can make any concrete decision on what we're going to do. And I'm quite assured now by the comments around this table, so to speak, table this evening, that we will do our due diligence to make sure that each of those buildings are handled in the proper manner.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Any other last comments?
Mayor Kidd, there's 2 comments on the chat expressing their agreement with how the virtual meetings are going and how they're able to participate in these meetings now.
Yeah, good. No, I think the public really appreciating going back virtual here in our council meetings and all of our committee meetings as well. So that's great. So I will declare this public meeting.
Yeah. I think Patricia had her hand up again just after Doug's.
She kind of put her hand up in front of her face so that I could see her, not off to the side. So sorry, Councilor Hewitt, go ahead.
Yeah, not a problem whatsoever, Your Worship. Primarily, I just wanted to say I appreciate your comments, Chris, that we have had a lot of consultation, but again, is it the individuals that also need to be at the table to have that vision moving forward? That's one of my concerns. And again, I just think I wouldn't want any decision made prematurely, and want to make sure that we have our best interests at heart for our community. I mean, this is a community hub already, whether it moves into a library or another community hub. It really does come down to that heritage and our culture and supporting that history and that journey where our constituents are at. And I appreciate as well, some of your comments, Councillor Jelly, that in regards to we are taking the time to give this some serious consideration. But again, I want to hear more public input if at all possible.
Thank you. So, I got to Patricia in the video here for live streaming, so I get to maybe a little different angle than some of the other people that are not viewing live there. So. Any other comments? If not, I'll declare this public meeting to be closed and council will give due consideration to the proposed disposition for this property. So, first question and answer period. Anybody in the chat box or council at this point want to raise a question for council?
I have one comment, Mayor Kidd. It's surrounding potholes and the maintenance. So based on the maintenance operational plan, we still need to maintain potholes when they reach the definition of a pothole in the document. There are many areas that need immediate attention. Drive-in Theater Road and the south end of Crystal Crescent have potholes that are in need of immediate repairs as per the city's document. I know the city knows about them as their company vehicles drive these roads regularly. If they are not repaired soon, the city would have no recourse not to pay vehicle repairs for regular users of these roads. Old style patching needs to continue while we wait for the new machine to catch up.
Yeah, that new spray patcher is an in-service there. It's being operated every day there when there's not pouring rain. And hopefully they can get around these potholes. I know driving through the road has been bad, but there's been a lot of commercial traffic going on driving through the road there to construct that new building there on Grant Drive. So I'll have to decide whether the lodge is going to start building this year as well. So we're going to spend a whole lot of money on driving through the road until we can resurface that road completely there. So, but I think that's Councilor or Director Walsh wants to make a comment as well. Doug, any comments?
No,
No, I wasn't prepared. Our crew is out patching potholes and we'll get to them.
No, I think we're doing our best to get around, get these potholes passed there, and we'll continue with that. So. Any other comments?
No more comments here.
Okay. There are no presentations tonight. We're getting into the communications. 10A is a letter from Danielle Manton, the city clerk for the city of Cambridge, regarding support for the provincial funding for rehabilitation facilities. So letter received on May the 13th, received for information. 10B is a report from AMO events regarding the virtual AMO 2020 conference program information. That's received for information. 10C is a letter from Canam for a media release. That's received for information regarding the police services boards. 10D is a letter from J. Dunn, the deputy clerk, city clerk for the city of Kitchener, regarding support for the universal basic income. That's received for information. 10E is a letter from the Temiskaming Health Unit regarding secondary residences, regarding the COVID-19. That's received for our information from Dr. Ben Cornell. 10F is a letter from AMO Communications. The whole list of things: municipal fiscal requests, emergency orders, pandemic pay, long-term care home commission, extended school and child care closures, and summer camps. So that reports there from AMO. That's received for our information. 10D is a letter from Charlene Watt, the deputy clerk for Township Armor, support for high-speed internet connectivity in rural Ontario. It's very important to this area as well. That's received for information. 10H, another AMO communication regarding their AMO watch file. That's received for information. 10I is the same, AMO communications regarding the AMO COVID-19 update, looking ahead to 2021, received for information. And 10G, another AMO communication regarding the pandemic pay update for the COVID-19. So that's received for information. So that's the correspondence. I've got a motion made by Councillor Berger, second by Councillor Hewitt, be resolved that City Council agrees to deal with communication items 10A to 10J according to the agenda references, and unless someone wants to bring somebody's issued back again. So, any comments? Councillor Jelly?
Yes, item G, the high-speed internet. I think we should be bringing that back to support it. And also the Phenom release, the media release concerning the police service boards. I'd like to see the city support that. I can tell you with my other hat on that the OAPSB are also taking this to task, that it's not agreed upon by our provincial body. And there will be a paper and a discussion led by Northeastern and Northwestern Ontario, along with our president and CAO of OAPSB. That we will be presenting a document also to the government on our displeasure with not all of the AMO ideas, but certainly the DSAB boards. And I will be taking it to our local DSAB also. Thank you.
Yep. Any other comment, Councillor Whalen?
Yeah, just to follow up on Councillor Jelly's comments, Phenom is presently preparing a paper for the province on the police service board issue. To date, when we did that media release, I think I've done 6 print interviews, 3 radio interviews, and 2 television interviews. And the phone has been ringing constantly, and there's absolutely no support for that idea. So it's a well-prepared document, but that particular piece that includes DSABs just received no support whatsoever. So we're going to go to the province and fight that as well.
Thanks, Councillor Whalen. Any other comments? Any other discuss more? If not, we'll bring those 2 items back. Anybody opposed to that motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that motion carried. Item number 11 is creation of council of communities and regional. I've got a motion moved by Councillor MacArthur, second by Councillor Jelly. Be resolved the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes of the Millisford Business Improvement Area Board of Management meeting held on March the 11th, 2020. Any comments? Anybody opposed to that motion? Seeing none, I'll consider that motion carried. Item number 12, the creation of council of the internal departments. And I got a motion moved by Councillor Ferrier, Second by Councilor Hewitt, be resolved the following minutes be accepted for information. A, the minutes of the Corporate Services Committee meeting held on May the 13th, 2020, and also the minutes of the Protection of Person and Property Committee meeting held on May the 13th, 2020. Any comments on those two sets of minutes? Anybody opposed to those two sets of minutes? That motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that one carried. Reports by members of the council tonight. Who wants to cover? Councilor MacArthur?
Thank you very much, Mayor. Just an update. You probably heard a few comments on the radio and in the Temiskaming Speaker concerning the Temiskaming Transit Committee. And after our meeting Friday, May the 22nd, we did come out with some new news, and that was as of now, the Temiskaming Transit will resume the collection of bus fares. For the month of June, it's only $2 per person, and we ask the riders to please ensure they have the exact change, as our drivers are not going to be changing for any change. Passengers also will start using the front door. And effective July 1st, next month, we will resume collecting normal fares, and the City of Temiskaming Shores will start issuing monthly bus passes online only. We've been working with Stock very closely and the drivers, and we want passengers to enjoy their rides, but we want to also please stay your distance, and we're cleaning and sanitizing every 2 hours. We're doing what we can to keep the buses not just on the road, but healthy and clean inside. Due to the nature of our transit system, it's very difficult to physically distance, but therefore the committee strongly recommends face coverings when physical distance is not possible. And if you would like to wear your cloth mask or whatever, it's not mandatory, but if that's what you want to do, that's great. And I'd just like to say on behalf of the Transit Committee, we'd like to thank our drivers, Stock Transportation, our passengers for the cooperation, and we look forward to continuing on with this great service for all of Temiskaming Shores and Cobalt.
Thank you, Councilor MacArthur. Councilor Whelan?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kidd. Just quickly, we had a meeting of the executive for the Temiskaming Municipal Association. Unfortunately, those meetings are all done by telephone due to the lack of high-speed internet everywhere, but I do want council to know that TMA is working on your behalf. There are a few issues out there that we're writing letters on, and actions are being taken. It's just harder to communicate at this time.
Any other comments, reports? Yes, Councilor Foley. Jesse?
Yeah, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Just a reminder, this is usually bicycle friendly month in Temiskaming Shores, and tonight I'd usually be blowing by all of you on our bicycle ride. But just want to let everybody know that this weekend, a member of our bicycle friendly community committee was interviewed by Radio Canada to discuss our cycling infrastructure here in the city, as well as the recreation department put up a bicycle repair place, like a place where you can do minor repairs to your bike down near the Pool Fitness Center. So again, we're on the interview with Radio Canada, so it's always good to get nice recognition for our bicycle infrastructure here in the city of Temiskaming Shores. Maybe Director Baum, if he has anything else, he can tell us a little bit more.
I don't think I have anything extra to add. That was excellent. Thank you.
Some benefits to COVID-19 for our seniors who didn't have to ride the bicycle. That's a Foley.
Challenge accepted.
Bike Temiskaming Shores, if you check out their Facebook page, they're still doing lots of group rides. Again, this is normally bicycle friendly month in our city, and unfortunately this year it's not happening, but go to Bike Temiskaming Shores and you can check out all the group rides that they've planned throughout the month.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Just a couple things I want to bring up. We do have a new airport manager for the Northern Temiskaming Regional Airport. We have followed by the name of Jamie Smith that started on Monday. That's his first day there. He's come to us from Brandon, Manitoba, actually originally from North Bay, but he's taken over here on the camera. He's going to transition out and enjoy a retirement, well-deserved retirement there over the next month or two. And we look forward to working with Jamie Smith. He's got a wealth of knowledge and experience there as well, so hopefully that'll work out very well for the year there. They're going to do an interview with the speaker in the next day or two. The other thing, we had a teleconference with the UNR, Maria was on there, talking about the bus and the really travel that they're having. I guess their bus passenger counts are way down the last couple months, or as much as 95%, some of the different routes there. So they're having trouble trying to maintain those routes there. So they're hopefully, that'll encourage the municipalities to enroll people to use the bus parcel express, sending more parcels. I mean, they've got overnight delivery or same-day delivery there for a lot of the bus parcels as well. So it may be more efficient to do that than just to go through some of the couriers and the mail, which seems to be slowing down with all the internet purchases and everything else there. So that plus just promoting anywhere we can the additional freight and get freight off the highways there as well. So that was her comments yesterday morning. So if there's no other comments, any those motions tonight? Seeing none, we'll go on to new business. 15A is support for Temiskaming Health Unit for consultation for a new Ontario poverty reduction strategy. Got a resolution moved by Council Will and second by Council MacArthur. Whereas the Temiskaming Health Unit recently commended the Government of Ontario's interest in poverty reduction and its public consultation and to inform the development of a new provincial strategy. And whereas the Temiskaming Health Unit stated that the prolonged stress of continually struggling to satisfy basic needs negatively impacts the physical and mental health of the entire families. And whereas poverty does not just affect those experiencing it, poverty costs the Ontario economy over $27 billion annually, with the cost of maintaining poverty far outweighing the cost of addressing it. And whereas in the district of Temiskaming, 18% of the people continue to live in low-income households, including 20% of children under the age of 18 years old. And whereas poverty persists in the presence of low unemployment rates, while the strong economic and job creation are essential factors of poverty, low education attainment, precarious unemployment, low wages, disability, as well as a lack of affordable housing and childcare contributes to maintenance. And whereas a comprehensive poverty reduction strategy must address an entire gamut of issues, from the lack of individual resources and supports the political and economic structures. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Council for the Corporation of the State of Victoria hereby supports the Temiskaming Health Unit's recommendation for Ontario's new poverty reduction strategy outlined in its letter to the Ontario government on April 30, 2020. And further, a copy of this resolution be forwarded to the Honourable Todd Smith, the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services. Any comments, Councillor Brown?
Yeah, thanks very much, Mayor Kidd. I'm assuming maybe some of council was a little bit shocked when I said we should bring this back for support, because usually my first question is what's it going to cost us? But when you really read the details of this, when we did our budgeting for this year, we had discussions on both our DSAB costs and our public health unit costs. So this is going to be an extra cost somewhere along the way. But if you look a few years down the road and if there's benefits to it, the possible reductions to our DSAB programs or our public health unit programs should at least offset the cost of this program. But what the true benefit is a much more mentally fit and physically fit community. And in the long run, with that, we all win. So I think it's a wash as far as dollars in, dollars out, but I think it's a great program and well worth taking a look at. So I hope council supports it.
Can you, as President Phenomenal, Danny, look into the reports on the pilot projects? I mean, there were 2 pilot cities that did pilot projects, and we have never, I don't think, seen any results from that.
Yeah, I can certainly do that, and I apologize because I was also going to ask for a friendly amendment that this be sent to Phenom as well, because as I understand, it's gone to all of the public health units, and they're already reaching out for consultation as well. So I think if we could build a team and push this, get our hands on the pilot project result, even though it was canceled prematurely. I think we can put up a good defense to carry this forward.
No, we can take that friendly amendment there. You're the one who makes the motion here, so it was forwarded on to Phenom as well, so. Councilor McCarthy, you have no issues? With that amendment? Okay. Any other comments? Yes, Councilor Jelly. Councilor Jelly?
Yeah, sorry, just getting my microphone on. Yeah, and I concur with Councilor Whalen. I would also ask perhaps either this be sent to DSAB or I will take it to DSAB myself, whichever is the easiest route to go. And I agree with all the comments that Councilor Whalen made. My only concern is, let's just hope they recognize the north and put something situated in reasonable proximity where it can be used, and not somewhere 150 miles or 100 miles south of us or 100 miles north. We all have a drug problem, and you know, I don't mean that personally, but every city has a drug problem, and you know, this would certainly be a benefit and a help to our society.
Thank you, sir. Other comments? If not, anybody opposed to this motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that carried. 15B is approval of the council meeting schedule for July 2020 through January 2021. And I got a motion moved by Councilor Foley, second by Councilor Jelly. Whereas the bylaw 2008-160, the procedural bylaw as amended, indicates that regular meetings of council shall be held on the first and third Tuesdays of each month, commencing at 6 p.m. unless otherwise decided by council. And whereas council typically reduces summer meetings in July and August to one meeting, now therefore be resolved, council of the City of Mr. Shores hereby does confirm the following scheduled meetings for the months of July 2020 through December 2020 as well. So you've got all the lists there in front of you there. So, any comments? Anybody opposed to this motion? Seeing none, we'll carry on. That motion carried. 15C is a memo 009-2020 CS, the 2019 year-end financial report. And I got those moved by Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor Hewitt. Be resolved to council for the City of Mr. Shores acknowledge receipt of memo report number 009-2020 CS for information purposes. Any comments?
Mayor Kidd, if I could just, Laura Lee is on, our treasurer, Laura Lee McLeod is on the line tonight.
On the line? Okay.
So, yeah, the next couple of reports, the year-end financial tax ratios and the accounts receivable policy, as well as the budget bylaw. If anyone has any questions on those, Laura Lee is here to provide any clarification.
Okay. Yeah, we've got tax ratios and everything else. Any comments? Councilor Foley? No? So, yeah. So 15C, anybody opposed to this motion? If not, we'll consider that one carried. 15D, Administrative Report CS 021-2020 tax ratios. I got a motion moved by Councilor McCarthy, second by Councilor Whalen. Be resolved the council for the City of acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 021-2020. And the council direct staff to approve the necessary bylaws utilizing the revenue neutral tax ratio for 2020 for consideration at the June 2nd, 2020 regular council meeting. Comments? Discussion? Questions for Laura Lee? Anybody opposed to this motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that motion carried. 15E, Administrative Report CS 022-2020, the accounts receivable policy. And I got a motion moved by Councilor Foley, second by Councilor Hewitt. Be resolved the council for the City of Shores acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 022-2020. And the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to adopt a new accounts receivable policy for consideration at June 2nd, 2020 regular council meeting later tonight. So, any comments? Anybody opposed to this motion? So that one carried. 15F, Administrative Report CS 023-2020, the fireworks display 2020, and I got a motion moved by Councilor Jelly, second by Councilor Whalen. small spurts here that cancel fireworks. Be resolved the council for the state to secure acknowledge receipt of administrative report CS 023/2020, and the council agrees to cancel the city's Canada Day fireworks display scheduled for July 1st, 2020, and confirms that the deposit paid to North Star Fireworks will be applied towards a postponed fireworks display to be determined once restrictions concerning the COVID-19 pandemic allow for larger gatherings. Comments? Councilor Kelly.
Yeah, they agreed to apply them to the next fireworks if we have it. Is there a limitation on when we have to have it, or is it a year, or lots of places put them on and put off things until the coast is clear, so to speak, and then they give you so long to use them up? Just curious.
The only comment I heard is that we could apply the funding towards 2021, July 1st, 2021. Chris, any other comments or?
James is on the line as well, so we have received funding. So we've received funding. So James, you pipe in if I say anything incorrect, but we received funding from Heritage Canada for $5,000. So right now, Heritage Canada, I believe, are advising that it would be based on their fiscal year end of March 31st, 2021. But it all really depends on what happens. So the resolution is worded in a way that it's postponed until the larger gatherings are allowed, and then we can make a determination at that time when we want to have it. So Heritage Canada really doesn't have an answer for us either, so they're really waiting to see what happens as far as larger gatherings, and then I think we would bring this back to council for some further discussion about July 1st, 2021, or do we do something to try and use the funding from Heritage Canada prior to the March 31st deadline. So right now it's really just saying we're going to go ahead and cancel our July 1st because we don't anticipate the restrictions being us being able to have more than we usually have come out for the fireworks. James, does that pretty well summarize it?
Yeah, that summarizes it. And basically, if we're unable to run the fireworks prior to March 31st, 2021, there's no penalty. We will be able to use the funding later that year. It's just, it's an accounting thing for Heritage Canada.
Okay. Well, looks like the state of emergency is on until the end of June anyway, so I definitely won't be anything happening by July 1st. So. Any other comments? Anybody opposed to this motion? We'll consider that one carried. 15G, Administrative Report CS 024/2020, the Tourism Economy Restart Plan. And a motion moved by Councilor Ferrier, second by Councilor MacArthur. Be resolved the council for the city to consider the acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 024/2020, and the council directs staff to move forward with the partnered marketing programs to support local businesses as the economy restarts. James wants to give a bit of a brief update on this as well.
Sure, I can give you a 10-second overview. So we've had the opportunity to partner with Destination Northern Ontario, who's bought into some larger provincial marketing plans that we generally couldn't afford to participate in. So I hope that we can partner with them and the other major communities across Northern Ontario to be able to do some marketing of Northern Ontario as a whole and some of the larger communities within it as restrictions ease, so that when people feel they're okay to travel again, or they've been advised by the province they're okay to travel again, Northern Ontario will be sort of top of mind for them.
I see where they're looking at advertising the Globe Mail there, so they're looking at bringing people up from the Toronto area there, so that's going to take me a little while before they open it up to bring people from the area there. Councilor Gelly?
Yes, not to digress, but it would certainly be nice. I strongly suspect we're going to have a lot more travel within Canada this year because of the pandemic and what we're going through and the uncertainty of cross-border and what have you. And given, I think this is a great idea to get some good advertising for the north. And just to go back, it should be nice to have some signs out on that highway indicating what we can offer in the tri-towns or the old area known as the tri-towns, and get people in. If we can get people into our city, I think they would enjoy themselves.
Thank you, Councillor MacArthur.
Yes, I was just wondering, when is this advertising supposed to start? I think I was reading something about this year, and I really think that I'm for promoting tourism, but I can't see spending a dime this year. I mean, if you look at the Temiskaming Speaker, the article on the Marsh Bay, the Mullet Landing, the cancellations, even in Temiskaming, a 127-year-old camp there, it's not opening. We've just got rid of our fireworks. 5 people can gather. We can't have funerals. We can't have marriages. You think you're going to have a fall fair? Do you think you're going to have a village Noel? You think you're going to have a Santa Claus parade? People, I don't think people are going to come up north this summer. So I can see it down the road, but to spend money trying to get people to come to Temiskaming Shores or anywhere when we're told we can't even have more than 5 people at any time, and you don't know when this is going to end, and we may have another spike in November. So I think I have not, I'm not against the whole plan, but I sure don't see spending money to promote this area in 2020. I can't see it.
But the sales of recreational vehicles and RVs now are way up this spring and summer so far. So I mean, people are going to travel within Canada and get around. So it's rather how many resorts are going to be actually open to receive them. It's going to be another question. But so I'll let James answer the question as to when the plan is spending the money. But
sure. Thank you, Your Worship. We're trying to use a flexible date system to, certainly in the Globe and Mail project, we're going to buy a page in the Globe and Mail and promote Northern Ontario, and the intent being we would only run that page once the Governor of Ontario says it is now acceptable to travel for.
Yeah.
We're hoping that becomes late summer, fall. We don't know what that's going to mean, but that's the sort of estimated time frames. And the intent is, as you mentioned, Mike, the intent is to try and get people back to those businesses as soon as possible once they can accept visitors, because they are all hurting at the moment. We know that they're struggling, so the intent of the program is, as soon as possible, let's get people traveling to Northern Ontario. We have the ability for people to social distance easily in Northern Ontario. We have space. The consumer in Southern Ontario is already thinking of getting out of the city to go somewhere to be away from people. So it's going to be that kind of marketing, talking about telling people to come and be away from other people. The second piece of the project, the Attractions Ontario piece, is a little more, it's dated. I can't affect those dates. It will come out, summer 2020, and it's to promote really attractions of Northern Ontario, because in the Attractions Ontario magazine today, or annually, there is no mention of Northern Ontario. So this is a 4-year program, so it's the first year of a 4-year program, but we're trying to catch people while they're sitting at home thinking. And you're right, I don't think we will get them to, but it's at least they'll be aware for next year. Hey, there is something to do in Northern Ontario. Perhaps when they see it in the booklet again next year, they'll say, "Oh yeah, we were going to do that last year, but we couldn't get." That's the intent of those 2 programs.
Thanks, James. Councillor Allen?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kidd. I think it's a good report. I think it's well worth investing in. As councillors, we have to remember that our winter tourism is second only to our summer tourism. It runs year round. These these outfitters make money off of tourism. I did reach out to James. I've been asked to sit on an advisory council to Minister Rickford for economic recovery, and I believe his name, James can correct me if I'm wrong, but Dave McLaughlin, sound right for Destinations North? He's also on this committee, and the approach we're taking is we may not be ready to open right now, but when we are ready, we better have our ducks lined up and ready to go, because it's going to be a hard recovery. So this topic here was actually a point of discussion, so I think it's a great thing to get on board and get ready now. Like I say, it's not going to be easy to recover.
Any other comments? Anybody opposed to this motion? We'll consider that motion carried. Moving on to 15H, Administrative Report CS 025 2020 to 673 Browning Street. And I got a motion moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Jelly. We resolve the council for the Sage Street acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report CS 025 2020. And the council for the Sage Street direct staff to proceed with the sale of land by public tender for the property described as 673 Browning Street for a minimum tender amount of $5,000. Any comments? Anybody opposed to this motion? So that one carried. 15I, Administrative Report PPP 005 2020, the appointment of the district chief for state number 1 in Hillary. Motion reads, the motion is moved by Councilor Perry, seconded by Councilor Whalen. We resolve the council for the Sage acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report PPP 005 2020, and the council hereby appoints Kyle Brown as volunteer district chief to the Temiskaming Sheriff's Fire Department in accordance with the volunteer firefighter hiring and promotional policy. So, whether Chief Tim is on the line tonight or not, do you want to make any comments?
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm certainly very pleased to present this report to Council tonight for your consideration for promoting Kyle to the position of District Chief. Kyle began his career in 2002, but I think it goes back further than that. I know I started my career in 1988 and 89, and Kyle was just a little fellow coming to the fire hall and always excited about trucks and firemen. And here we are now. He's been 18 years, the last 10 as captain. And I think Kyle will make a great district chief for the Temiskaming Sheriff's Fire Department. So I'm really pleased that Kyle's taken the step up to continue his career in the fire service with us.
Thank you, sir. Any comments from council? Anybody opposed to this motion? Yes, Councilor Kelly. Your comment?
Yes, Your Worship. All I was going to do is, on behalf of the committee and council, is congratulate Kyle and thank him for stepping forward into this position and wish him the very best in his leading of the fire station in Halebury.
Thank you, sir. Anybody opposed to this motion? I guess unanimous. Thank you very much. 15J, Memo 011 2020 PW, the industrial wastewater disposal for Calamity Gulch project. It's a request from the MTO. And I got a motion moved by Councilor Foley, second by Councilor MacArthur. Be resolved the council for the state of hereby acknowledge receipt of Memo 011 2020 PW, and the council confirms the execution of a memorandum of understanding between the city and the Ministry of Transportation for the disposal of the leachate from the ministry's Calamity Gulch project after the list was removed. So, any comments? Anybody opposed to that motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that motion carried. 15K, Administrative Report PW 016 2020, the FCM funding application submission for the PSD Asset Management Program. So, motion moved by Councilor Hewitt, second by Councilor Whalen. Whereas council for the state of Charge considers the requirements of the Ontario Regulation 588/17 are much more prescriptive when preparing the city's updated asset management plan and will require the acquisition and use of appropriate software and external resources. Be resolved, the council for the city of Storrs acknowledge receipt of administrative report PW 016-2020 for potential funding to obtain asset management software, associated training, and consultant assistance to prepare the asset management plan and comply with the Ontario Regulation 588/17 on municipal asset management regulation requirements. And the council for the city of Storrs commits to conducting the following activities in its proposed project submitted to the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program to advance our asset management program. First, the acquisition of and training with asset management software system. Second is preparation of an Ontario Regulation 588/17 compliant asset management plan for July 1st, 2021. And lastly, the life cycle planning and level service framework for all core assets, including in the AMP. And the council for the city of Storrs direct staff to apply for the grant opportunity from the Federation of Canadian Municipalities Municipal Asset Management Program for the acquisition of assessment management software training and consulting assistance. And the council for the city of Storrs commits up to a combined total of $50,000 from the 2020 and 2021 budgets towards the cost of the initiative. So, any comments?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Kidd. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think this is something council should really support. I believe it under the current and future provincial and federal funding applications, the asset management plan is eventually going to become one of the most important documents in the city's possession. So I think this is a very worthwhile investment.
Thank you, sir. Any other comments? Councilor MacArthur.
Yes, I definitely go along with Danny on this. This is a $50,000 investment to the average taxpayer that doesn't know much about it. Not saying that I know a lot about it either, and we all know about it, but it's going to be something that's going to be part of our municipal life and the taxpayer's life. And we've got to be on board because it means a lot. And it's going to be, I feel down the road, a very important document to live by.
Any future funding applications are going to have to be based on the asset management plan, so it's going to be critical there. Any other comments? Anybody opposed to this motion? Seeing none, we'll consider that motion carried. 15I, Administrative Report PW 017-2020, the contract award supply and delivery of miscellaneous culverts. I got those moved by Council Jelly, second by Council MacArthur. Be resolved, the council for the city of Storrs acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report PW 017-2020. And the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to enter into agreement with Hub Cap for the award of the supply and delivery of miscellaneous culverts in the amount of $13,409.05 plus applicable taxes for consideration at the June 2nd, 2020 regular council meeting later tonight. So, anybody opposed to this motion? We will consider that one carried. And lastly, Administrative Report RS 007-2020, the Buck 2020 operations contract. And those by moved by Council LaFerrier, second by Council Foley. Be resolved, the council for the city of Storrs acknowledge receipt of Administrative Report RS 007-2020, and the council acknowledges the execution of the 2020 Buck Park operating agreement signed by the city manager on May 29th in order to permit the opening of Buck Park Campground in accordance with the compliance of the Ontario Regulation 82/20, the Safety Management and Civil Protection Act, and the council directs staff to prepare the necessary bylaw to confirm the 2020 Buck Park operating agreement for consideration at the June 2nd, 2020 regular meeting later tonight as well. So, any comments? Discussion?
Mayor Kidd, if I could just briefly, it's not normal practice that you would confirm something after the fact, but because of the circumstances we're in, I did undertake signing off on this agreement so that Buck Park could open, and it did open this past weekend, and we do have a number of seasonal campers that are down there taking advantage of our municipal campground. So I just wanted council and the public to know this. It's not really normal practice that it would come after the fact, but it really was a timing issue between what's permitted and trying to manage all that. So
Okay, good. Any comments? Councilor Hewitt, yes? No, okay. If there's no comments, I'll consider anybody oppose this motion. Because that motion carried. So, moving on to 16, the bylaws. And I got a motion moved by Councilor Reynolds, second by Councilor Hewitt, be it resolved that bylaw 2020-057, being a bylaw to adopt the 2020 municipal budget for the city of Shores. Bylaw 2020-058, being a bylaw to establish tax ratios for 2020. Bylaw 2020-059, being a bylaw to provide for the adoption of the 2020 tax rates for municipal and school purposes, and to further provide penalty and interest for payment in default. Bylaw 2020-060, being a bylaw with respect to the water and sewer service rates. Bylaw 2020-061, being a bylaw to adopt an accounts receivable policy. Bylaw 2020-062, being a bylaw to enter into agreement with Hubcap for the supply and delivery of miscellaneous culvert pipe to various locations within the city's shores. And lastly, bylaw 2020-063, being a bylaw to enter into agreement with Sylvain Gelineau for the operation of the Buck Park Campground for the 2020 operating season. These bylaws be hereby introduced and given first and second reading. Any comments on these bylaws?
Mark Kidd, me again. So tonight we have our budget bylaw as well as our tax rate bylaw. At our next corporate services committee meeting, so we did have direction from the committee and council regarding interest and penalty applied to not being applied to the May installment. Laura Lee will be working in the next week and a half on getting the tax bills out for the July 15th installment. And so the committee will need to have some discussion and bring forward something back to council as far as how you want to deal with any interest penalty on that installment and going forward as well as the next installment. So, but I just wanted for both council and the public's benefit, we're going to be ready to start printing those tax bills should council adopt these bylaws tonight.
So this will go to corporate services for discussion and a recommendation come back to council.
So the tax bills are going to be issued based on the bylaws being passed tonight. But as far as penalty being applied, we're going to need some further direction from council on what you want done as far as the July installment goes. But the tax bills will be going out for with a July 15th installment date, payment date.
Would you like to have a recommendation here tonight, or are you going to go to corporate services first and then come back to council, Chris?
I don't think we need a recommendation tonight. I think we'll go to corporate. It was just to make you aware that the bills are going to be going out, and Laura has some information prepared as far as how many. So not specific on individual ratepayers, but Laura does have some information on how many ratepayers actually took advantage of the deferral process that we had for penalty, and so we'll review that with the corporate services committee.
Okay, thank you. Any comments on these bylaws? Anybody opposed to these motions, these bylaws? Seeing none, we'll consider that motion carried. Moving on, we have another motion moved by Councilor Thurber, second by Councilor Jenny, be resolved that bylaws 2020-057, 058, 059, 060, 061, 62, and 63 be given third and final reading by the Mayor Clerk, and the corporate seal affixed there too. Any comments? Last comment? Anybody opposed to this motion? We'll consider that one carried. Schedule of meetings, council meetings. The next one is set for Tuesday, June 16th, 2020 at 6 p.m. And the next regular meeting after that will be Tuesday, July the 14th. We'll be doing a meeting in July. So, second question and answer period. Anybody got a question for council at this point? Councilors, members of the public.
No questions here, Mayor Kidd.
Thank you. So, any comments? No. So, we do have a closed session, so I got a motion moved by Councilor McCarthy, seconded by Councilor Perry. Be resolved by Councilor Reed to convene in closed session in a few minutes, say 7:25. We'll stay on the line tonight to discuss the following matters: A, the adoption of the May 19th, 2024 session minutes, and B, under section 239, 2D of the Municipal Act, labor relations or employee negotiations regarding a human resources update, as well as under section 239, 2D of the Municipal Act 2001, the labor relations or employee negotiations for the COVID-19 letter of understanding in their update. So those are the three items for the closed session meeting. And once we'll just wait a few minutes there for close off the public portion, and we'll continue on with the closed session. So anybody opposed to this motion? We'll consider that carried. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, of the public there, and we'll cut the live streaming and we'll carry on with our closed session. So.